What is going on, guys? So today we are going to be talking about the creator class tips for league play. Now, as you all know, I normally run an SMG, but I do have classes set up for ARs just in case I'm playing on a team that likes to run SMGs and they need an AR. So I've got ARs set up for SnD and I've got ARs set up for Respawn. But as you can see, my main classes that I run are the SnD AK-74U, the SnD AK-74U Smoke, and then the two Respawn AK-74Us. Now, there are only subtle differences in some of these classes, like the 2 AK for SnD and Respawn, but I'm going to go through each and every one in more detail. Okay, so with this first class for SnD AK-74U, I run perk greed. Simple reason for that is because obviously when you're in SnD you're going to be in less gunfights, so I think you can afford to have less attachments and have perks to help you out. So first up with the AK-74U, the attachments I use are as follows. I don't use an optic because I find that the reticles, the iron sights on the AK-74U are actually super clean, and so it gives you more space to use different attachments, but also because you can see more on the screen, you can snap onto people better and you can see enemies coming from all directions better with the iron sights. Moving on from that, then we've got the muzzle. So with the muzzle, I tend to use the muzzle brake 5.45. The reason for that is because obviously it helps with vertical recoil control, and yes, the other one does help with even more, but it also takes off horizontal recoil control, and we don't want that because controlling horizontal is much harder than controlling vertical, so it's much better just to have the additional little bit of help from the vertical without taking away loads of horizontal recoil control. Moving on, we've got the barrel. Now, I like using the 9.3 VDV reinforced barrel. That's because you are going to be getting more effective damage range and more bullet velocity. This one obviously adds bullet velocity and that one obviously adds more damage range, but this one will mean that you can kill people further away and your bullets will be getting to the enemy quicker. So I think it's the best of both worlds, to be honest, without taking off too much of your speed and making you too clunky. I don't like adding any body on simply because I think the hip fire accuracy on the AK-74U is decent anyway, and to be honest I'm not 100% sure if the enemies can see it, so I just wouldn't use it. Moving on from that, we've now got the underbarrel. Now with the underbarrel I like to use the very last one. That is because it helps you with that horizontal recoil control, which again is hard for you to control yourself, but it also makes you move a lot better. You can obviously use this one, which helps with both the recoils, but then it makes you a lot more clunky, so I prefer to use the bottom one because that will mean that you've got horizontal recoil control, you can cover the vertical one yourself because that's much easier to control, but you're going to have a lot better movement, which you need when you're going to be running and gunning with the AK-74U and just SMGs in general, to be honest with you. Now in SnD I don't think you need a magazine simply because you won't be getting in as many gunfights, so 30 rounds should be enough. And onto the handle, I like to use the Spetsnaz field grip. You're going to be getting help from aim down sight speed and flinch resistance, and only taking off sprint to fire time. This one does help with more aim down sight time, but you've not got any flinch resistance, which you need, because obviously when you are shooting at people you want to be able to stay on them, and if you've got flinch you're not going to be able to stay on them and kill them. And this one obviously adds the going prone aspect as well, but it makes your movement a lot worse. So I think the top one's the best because you keep in the flinch resistance, you don't need to go prone much, and you're not going to be clunky. And finally, the stock. I like to use the no stock. You can use the bottom one and it will give you slightly better movement, but it does take off the hip fire, and I don't think aim walking movement speed is a necessity because you'll be running and gunning a lot, whereas I find with the no stock the minus that it takes off the hip fire accuracy isn't that bad, because I do actually get quite a lot of kills when I am using no stock. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the AK-74U and the attachments involved. Now you've got the 1911 pistol. Now this pistol I use, this secondary should I say, I use for literally everything. SnD, Respawn, SMGs, ARs. I don't use an optic because I think the iron sight's quite clean. Again, I use the top muzzle because there's no need to have the extra vertical when you're getting that recoil. I like to use the bottom barrel because it adds the most damage range, and this is good because when you are, say you're in a fight, you've run out of your SMG bullets, your AR bullets, and you flip this out, this will keep the most damage at whatever range they're at, so it gives you the best chance of killing the enemy with your secondary. Again, I don't think you need a steady aim laser. You shouldn't really be going hip fire anyway with your pistol, but also if the enemy can see it, that's not good. I'm not sure on that, by the way, but I just don't think you need it anyway. Now with mags, you can use either of the top two. The top one might be for if you just want to spam your bullets, get them out there to make sure you get the kill, but the fast mag I like to use simply because if you have run out of all your AR or SMG bullets and then you're on your pistol, you run out, you can get the mag back in quick, so then you can swap to your other gun much quicker and then get the mag back into your main weapon to then start going again with that gun. So yeah, personal preference, but I personally prefer using the fast mag. With handle, with this one I do actually use the bottom one just for the aim while going prone, because if you have, I mean for starters the movement doesn't matter as much because with the pistol you won't be moving, it's just when you're just pulling it out to get that quick kill, but also because it's not the best weapon to use, being able to go prone is good to try and win the fight, and then obviously you don't need to worry about the stock. Now then, this is the main difference with the two SnD SMG classes. One's got the stun, one's got the smoke. The stun is if the enemy haven't got a sniper, and like let's say you're on checkmate, you can stun up top, try and get some information, maybe throw your Semtex in and get the kill. Now with this, I prefer Semtex because you are quicker at getting it off, and if you stick someone, it's an instant kill, and I get them quite a lot. And then finally, with the field upgrade, I go with the trophy system. It's by far the best one. It stops the enemies being able to nade you, or stun you, or flash you, and also if they shoot it out, it's distracting them from you for a few seconds. Now onto the perks. We've got perk greed, and with the red ones, I like to run flat jacket and tactical mask in S&D. You've only got one life, so make it as hard for the enemy to get you as possible. Flat jacket stops them nading you, tactical mask stops them stunning you. So yeah, that's about it for the red perks on S&D. With the blue perks, I tend to like to run the quartermaster and the gearhead. I don't think you need scavenger because you're not going to run out of ammo much, and I don't really think you need assassin. Gearhead gets you as many of the trophies out as you can, and then with quartermaster, let's say at the start of the round you throw a stun somewhere to get information, and then you throw your Semtex as well. Later on in the round, if you need them, you can then get another stun and Semtex to maybe try and get someone off the bomb or whatever. So that's the blue ones, and then finally we're going to move on to the yellow ones. Now with the yellow ones, ninja is a must. You can choose between cold-blooded and spycraft. I think in S&D cold-blooded isn't really needed because people aren't going to really get the top ones, and even if you get a cruise missile you can get inside, but at least with spycraft you can obviously hack an enemy trophy system. But the main one with the yellow ones is ninja, because you want to be quiet, otherwise they'll sound whore you and the enemy will get really easy kills on you. So yeah, that is about it for this SMG S&D class. The only difference between the top one and the next one is that if there's a sniper on the enemy team, I've got a smoke there so that I can get about without the enemy being able to snipe me. And then again, I've got the Semtex on because unlike the grenade, if you stick them, even if they've got flat jacket on, you can kill them. Now, moving on to the SnD M4, everything's the same in this class except obviously the M4 itself. I put this class on here again just in case I'm not running an SMG, which I normally run. And obviously if you're an AR, this might be what you want to run, but everything else in this class is the exact same as the SMG class with the pistols and the tacticals and all that. Okay, cool. So with the attachments, I like to run a reticle. That is the first thing. I think it is super important to have one. I either use the Microflex or the Millstop. Microflex is my favourite, but it doesn't really matter, just because the reticles on the ARs are ugly, so it's harder to get kills at long range, and it takes up a lot of your screen as well. It's very distracting, so I don't really like having an iron sight. Because of that, I don't have a muzzle on, but it's not the end of the world because we will have an attachment on for your recoil later anyway. If you did have one though, I'd go for the muzzle brake again because you don't want that horizontal recoil control. Moving on from that, we've then got the barrel. Now it's the same principle in the barrel as it is with the SMG. I go for the one that adds the effective damage range and bullet velocity, so you can hit people far away and it gets the bullet to the enemy quicker. Best of both worlds, whereas the ones further down do one or the other. I don't have a body because with this you've only got 5 attachments, and I don't think that this is a very important attachment to have. After that, now this is just a staple of any AR, Field Agent Grip. Helps with vertical, helps with recoil control. Obviously it affects your movement speed, but you don't really need to worry about it. Like here I was showing you, at the end of the day with ARs you're not going to be running and gunning the same, so having it with the Field Agent Grip will turn it into a beam machine, and that's exactly what you want with an AR when you're watching those long lines of sight. Mags don't matter because you won't be in too many gunfights. Obviously you might have 1 or 2, but 30 rounds should be more than enough, so I don't think you need that. Again, with the handle we've gone for this one because it affects your movement the least. It adds aim down sight speed and flinch resistance. Obviously the next one down adds slightly more aim down sight speed, but you've got no flinch resistance. And then the last one also adds the going prone, but it makes you a bit clunky, and I just don't think it's a necessity for that extra 10% of flinch and going prone. I think the best one to have is the one I showed you first, and then obviously radar pad's another staple. Helps with movement massively, and you don't need to worry about hip fire because you shouldn't really be doing that with an AR, so that is another staple. The Field Agent Grip and the radar pad I always have on any AR. So that's all my SnD classes, and now we're on to the Respawn. Now with both of these there's only literally one difference. One of them's got a flat jacket and one of them's got tactical mask. So if they're nading you loads, get the flat jacket on. If they're stunning you loads, get that on. But I tend to have the tactical mask on more just because I find it easy to get away from grenades, whereas when they stun you or flash it, it's a super easy kill. But bar that, everything else is the same. I'm just about to gonna show you the attachments that I use on the AK-74U, because we use Gunfighter on Respawn because you're going to be in more gunfights, so it's important to make that gun as effective as possible in every single gunfight you're in. So with the attachments, again, I don't use an optic because I think they're nice and clean and you don't need any optics on, and it will mean that you can see more of your screen and you can snap onto enemies better. Same principle with the muzzle brake, we're going with the top one because you can control the vertical recoil and you don't want the horizontal. The barrel's the same, you've got the best of both worlds again. Moving on to body, I do not use the laser. You can use the laser if you want to because it can help with the hip fire, but if the enemies see it, it's a bit clunky. I just don't really like it, but if you want it, it can help. Same with the underbarrel, we're going with the bottom one, so that helps with the horizontal, which you can't really control yourself and makes you move about a lot better. It doesn't really affect your movement speed, shooting movement speed and aim walking movement speed too much, so I really like the Spetsnaz speed grip. And then after that we've got mags, so 40 round mags. I think you need this one. There's only 4 people on the enemy team, so I don't see the need for a taped mag, because at the end of the day you need enough ammo to kill them all, unlike in SnD where you shouldn't be in as many gunfights as quick. You could be taking on 2 or 3 people at a time, but once they're killed you're not going to have loads and loads more like you would in pubs, so you can reload once you've killed them all. And then we're on to this. Now I use the Spetsnaz field grip again because you want that flinch, which you don't get with the serpent wrap, and the Grew Elastic wrap just makes you clunky, so I wouldn't use that one personally. And then the stock, again I'm using no stock. The bottom one makes your hip fire a lot worse, and it doesn't really benefit you all that much more because you're not going to be aim walking all that much. Yeah, so that is the Respawn class, and as I said, the only difference between them is one of them's got flat jacket and one of them has got tac mask. So lastly I'm going to show you the Respawn ARs. You've got the Respawn M4 and the Respawn Krig. This is more down to personal preference. I personally think the M4 is better, it packs a bit more of a punch. You might be able to control the Krig a bit better, and I've seen pros use both, but I think realistically give them both a go, because the only difference is that one's the M4 and one's the Krig, and one attachment is different on both, which I'll highlight in a minute, but the rest of it's the same. So try them both out, see what you prefer, and then just stick to that one. If you're wanting sniper classes, unfortunately I'm not very good at sniping, so you'll have to find someone else for that, or I'll get one of my mates who loves sniping to give me a class for that, but I'm not a sniper. But yeah, these are the last classes. So we're going to start with the XM4. Again, we've got Gunfighter on it, like we would have with the Respawn SMGs, because you're going to be more engagement, so you're going to want the best gun possible, but the rest of the class is the same as the Krig and is the same as the SMGs. Okay, cool. So first we need an optic. Sadly, like we said, ARs have got awful optics, or iron sight should I say, so I go with the Microflex, but you can go with the mil stop. That's personal preference, and that is literally just down to whichever you prefer. Again, top muzzle, sorry, because it adds some help to the vertical, but it's not making you horizontal any worse. Want the best of both worlds with the barrel, so that's giving you the best of damage range and bullet velocity. You can put the aim laser on here just because it's harder to get those hip fire kills with an AR. So if you want the laser on, you can have it on. I've put it on here, but it doesn't matter too much. It's probably the worst or the least important attachment on the gun. After that, we've got the staple, which is the field agent grip. Again, we've already gone over that. The 40 round mag, same principle as we had with the SMG. Just make sure you've got enough bullets for 2 or 3 people at a time, and once they're killed, you've got time to reload. After that, we're going to move on to the handle. So same principle as we had before. You know, you're getting the aim down sight and the flinch. The second one doesn't give you the flinch resistance, and the bottom one makes you clunky. And the radar pad principle or staple attachment for the gun. Now we're going to on to the Krig. Now, like I said earlier, this gun does have one difference. Everything else is the same on this gun except the barrel. For some reason, the Krig does not have a barrel which does both bullet velocity and damage range. I'm going through them now so you can see. So it's up to you whether you want that bullet velocity barrel or you want the one that I've selected, which is the effective damage range. Now I go for that one just so that it packs a bigger punch at the longer ranges, because you're going to be watching those long lines of sight, but everything else is the same. So it's personal preference between those two barrels. Everything else is the same as the XM4, and then it is literally just down to you to choose whatever you want to use. Yeah, whether you want to use the Krig or the XM4. So that is it. I've literally gone over AR and SMG for both Respawn and SnD modes. I hope that helps you out. As you can see, I have now dropped to Expert. I started off in Expert and then I went up to Elite, and I don't know how I went back down to Expert, but I'm going to grind and get back up to Elite hopefully soon. So yeah, that is about it. I hope that's helped you out. See you later.